Really, you came in, although I was not with you in Mombasa, you were really with me in spirit, including you, Mr. Speaker. I really thank you very much, all of you. It was the whole house, and I really want to challenge the country, Mr. Speaker. We have no cardiac, you know, doctors dealing with the heart in this country, they are overloaded. I wish many more doctors can specialize in heart issues, because the few doctors we have, they have such a long chain of many Kenyans with problems of the heart, and it causes delay. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me add my voice on the matter of KQ, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you know, Kenya Airways has been it's a pride of Africa. But Mr. Speaker, although there are a lot of blame games and the pilots are being blamed, Mr. Speaker, what is affecting Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker, is a whole compounded issue that includes management, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure how many of the board members who sit in Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker, have understanding or training or experience in the aviation sector, Mr. Speaker, that would help improve matters in that Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I say so because in the past, you are aware, Mr. Speaker, part of the decisions that have been made in Kenya Airways are not strategic at all, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, how can Kenya Airways close all its sales offices nationally and internationally and expect to compete with airlines like Emirates, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, if you look at the pricing model they are using for their tickets, Mr. Speaker, there is no way this airline, even if it is left to run in the manner it is running, it will continue to survive as a going concern, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this matter must be taken seriously by this House, and the Transport Committee, together with Labour, Mr. Speaker, should sit together to jointly look into the matters affecting Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the matter of financing Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker, this is an airline government has always bailed out for so many times, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if what I read in the newspapers recently is true, that Kenya Airways has been making losses running to, I think they started with 20-something billion, they came to 14 billion. If it is true that this strike, the loss will only be 8 billion, Mr. Speaker, then I think it looks like the strike is causing some savings, Mr. Speaker. I see the way my majority leader is looking at me, but Mr. Speaker, we must address issues that affect this country in a bipartisan manner, Mr. Speaker. In my opinion, Mr. Speaker, we want the ownership of KQ be made properly public. Those who have leased aircrafts to Kenya Airways, we want to know who they are, at what cost, and why has Kenya Airways not leased the aircraft directly from the manufacturers, like the other airlines, Mr. Speaker. A struggling airline like Kenya Airways, Mr. Speaker, cannot afford to lease aircrafts from third parties, Mr. Speaker, and expect to compete with Emirates, Mr. Speaker, who are leasing aircraft directly from the manufacturers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I implore upon this House and the two committees to take the matters of Kenya Airways seriously, bearing in mind that this is the national carrier and it is the pride of Africa, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, the matter of KQ is a very serious matter. And I don't think it's just a labor issue, as the Senator of Kiambu has put it. It's a very serious issue. But I want to remind members that this is not the first time Parliament is looking at this matter of KQ. We remember very well in the second Senate. The second Senate had a very intensive process of looking at this matter under the chairmanship of the then Senator of Kisumu, Professor Nyang'nyong. And the report is there. The National Assembly in the 12th Parliament, they took almost a year to look at this matter, Mr. Speaker. And they invited all the stakeholders, came up with a report with very serious recommendations, And I remember one of the recommendations was to come up with a law on management